I met a world-class Kung Fu master who told me that Kung Fu is 90% wrestling. That came as a surprise since most of the Kung Fu you see is all about striking. But how does that really work? In order to find out, I asked Sifu Jacob to show me an example of how various Kung Fu wrestling moves get confused with striking techniques. And to grasp the answer as best as I can, we're also joined by professional MMA fighter Oliver Enkamp.
You have these kind of things from punching. He comes in and it looks like a block. But if it's from wrestling, and now when I do the same thing, it's a way of going under his arm and controlling his head. Why I do this is to push him away from his leg so the leg become free. Now from here I get his leg, and now from here I just do a single leg takedown, which is basic MMA. The block, the Kung Fu pose from the movies is this sneaky move coming up, controlling him, pushing him, grabbing his leg. It's a totally different thing. We also have this basic where you push your opponent, and then when you push him back, you take the leg like this. Some positions that you see in the forms where you lift your leg like this is to get this one. And then from there you have like nice big movements like this. And that's when you have the leg, boom. And then now from here, when I step in behind his leg and take him down like this, and it looks bam, like this. So this is the drag on, you don't really know what to do it, but this is wrestling. When we see a movement that looks like this, it feels like I'm reaching out and I'm touching him, and this is what happens. But I'm much closer. This is what I do when I'm already in here. So when I move my hand now, it will push him and trip him over. When we feel that they're blocking a punch, then we're standing on the wrong place, basically. So this is not where it comes from. It should be something that meets up the opponent, something that gets us close, and now from here, that's where the technique is. There are two different versions of wrestling. For example, you have Judo, also Chinese Shuai Jiao, and where you establish a grip. So you're first fighting for the grip, or it can be in the belt and so on. And when you get the grip, you know that, okay, from here I can throw him. But then we have the other style. It's very difficult to spend too much time here because you get kneed in the face and other things. So you want to do this quick. And this is called in Chinese Kuai Jiao, which means fast wrestling. Like you're tripping, you put your foot on one side and then you sweep from this side and he goes down. When I come from a kick and I put my foot down, I can come in directly to this kind of throws and locks. So you can put it very easily together, like feint up and you come in, or you kick and you step and you sweep, and then you can put it more together. In the forms you have like very traditional Kung Fu. You step out like one and then you come in like this, two, and then you turn around. This is like in the Kung Fu movies. And then a lot of people practice it more like Qigong. They walk and then they turn and they look like this and Then we go into training here, and if I do like this and I walk, it's not gonna happen. The way him or me do it is that you use a totally different body language. You come in and you go bam, like this. You are in a totally different structure, position, power. You turn around and you come like this. Now, if we back up, that's the way you should practice your solo movements. So if you want to learn that, your solo movements need to have the same like positions and everything. Then you're connecting it. But people think that doing it like this will then end up like that, and it's not.
This is basically not shadow boxing, but shadow wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You don't shadow box like this.
Exactly.
So you should wrestle the same way.
Our basic understanding comes probably from like modern boxing. Everything is from here, but I would say everything is from here.
And when it comes to forms, there's this saying, block is a lock, is a blow, is a throw. If you punch me, a block can be a lock, can be a blow, can be a throw. Same movement, right?
Yeah.
Different applications.
Yeah.
It's not always what you see is what it is.
There are different ways. One is punching, throwing. So I would use like almost like a hook punch, but I would also step and I hook and punch and trip him over like bam. So it's both a punch and a throw at the same time. But this is also throwing. And then we have like basic sweeping, and then we have throws. And all of those together makes up a really big part of the training. You could say that it's 90%. Like I said, touching something here, then getting close, then we're on wrestling, and that's how it works. But in the forms, we tend to see every movements as simple as possible, more like blocking something and then punching. But this was coming in and then taking someone down. So we have for a long time interpret the forms a little bit wrong, going more towards like modern boxing, fighting, thinking that's what we're doing. Most of the wrestling has got lost.
I then asked Jacob and Oliver to compare a Kung Fu technique that is similar to traditional wrestling.
We call it arm drag. I need to connect to him in some form. Maybe he grabs me or I grab him. Then I want to close this gap as quick as possible. So I pull this to the side and I take a step forward to get around him. I expose the back and I catch.
Exactly the same.
I think your footwork was different.
I would do it probably the same, but a little bit more detailed, like where you put your foot when you're pulling. If we go into specific styles, like in Tai Chi, we have these things that you're listening. So we're wrestling and he's pushing on this one. I use this first to dissolve, get a close grip here, and then I do the pull from there. There might be just a little bit small different, but it's the same. And perhaps you trick the opponent by adding a little power, and then you release, and then you get a reaction. Because he's skilled, he's probably already doing this without training Tai Chi. And this becomes also a question of how much do you practice. Can you make it on 2 steps? If you can, and if you're balanced, if you can make it, then it's faster, so it should be better. But if you can't really make it, then it's not the most important thing. Some things in Kung Fu and martial arts becomes like party tricks, like you don't even use it when you're fighting, but you're really perhaps skilled at doing some trick with your feet. But then when you're fighting, this goes away because you don't even care about it.
Quick announcement. If you'd like to see 5 different martial arts YouTubers compete against each other in various self-defense challenges, check out the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship crowdfunding by clicking the link in the description. We then discussed why so many Kung Fu schools focus on stylistic moves that don't work.
When you go into performance, you say to people, keep your chest out, chin up like this. You perform and you expand outwards like this. But this is completely wrong. What you would say to a fighter is not that. If you go out like this fighting and then bang and you're down. So to a fighter it's okay, keep it in, down, sink down. So why isn't it the same? What I would like to see in a competition is someone who sinks down and get the structure and power. And when you see the movement coming, it should be the same. The form to practice this is improvisation. So you can see that, okay, somebody's coming from there and I'm grabbing his arm and I'm pulling it down and then I'm pushing him down, and now somebody comes from here. And then I take this and I go and now take down from this, bam! And this is how you practice it. And then it becomes shadow wrestling and a real skill. But nowadays it has become too divided to the extent that you're even telling people to do different things. And this is not good. This is what separates the world.
Because I heard that the gladiators were taught to do big movements because it's entertainment. It's for the audience. But you wouldn't teach the Roman soldiers the same movements because you want them to kill their opponents. So this is also the difference between martial art and combat sport, or performance, doing a form for the judges that looks aesthetically pleasing to the eye, or being effective. It's not the same.
There are many different personalities within martial arts. Some people are good teachers or good performers, but then you have a certain type of person that are fighters. And in the traditional martial arts, these guys were getting into trouble with the master or the law, and they got kicked out of the school, and they didn't have any students because students hated them, and training was too tough. They went to someone else. And these guys were the real fighters and the guys that could use this. So I have met a couple of guys that are like this, and the training is not nice, it's not pleasant, but there is so much information, and they have what's not in the forms, what's not in the training, what's not in the sports. If you move like this, or if you use this, or if you come in and you reach with the knee, you hit on a certain point, and then they have all this like tricks and understanding on how to use this, that most of the time is the thing that is missing in the traditional. It's good to have these guys around somewhere. The most common thing with the traditional martial arts is that you don't know where to look for it. You go to China, to the Shaolin temple, but that's not where it is. And you go to another mountain, that's not where it is. Then you go to a city and there's this, drunk guy and he has it, and it's really hard to find it, when it's about like this real understanding. So there is a few teachers still that are like talents when it comes to fighting. Their system is very full and rich, but it's because of them. It's because of their understanding.
And I heard they use these names for the techniques to hide it from other Kung Fu schools. Is that true or no?
No, I would say like this, because it's so hidden and so few teachers that know it, they must have hidden it. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Because instead of single leg takedown, they call it dragon picks up the fruit.
Because first my idea is like, it's a myth, like you wouldn't hide stuff like that, why would you, and so on. It's more the movies. But now when I'm researching, and I have to research so much to find these things, the only thing that makes sense is that they hid it and didn't teach it. But there's different reasons for that. Could be very practical reasons, like I don't teach this to the beginners, but the indoor students that's been training for a while, I can teach this because they are more qualified and can do the tripping techniques so they can catch themselves. But the beginners would go and teach and do other stuff and spread this, and only a few would really have learned it. When we come to the secrets, it's what you see in MMA all the time, so it's no secret. But for most people, it's inaccessible. But then I have a story to explain this. Friend's grandfather was an old master, and he was living in the jungles and in war times and training Kung Fu. Then modern times came came and people wanted him to teach what he knew. He didn't want to teach it, and people didn't understand why. But the picture we had was that he knew all these cool forms, and then people were training Tai Chi in the park in cool forms, and it's like, why don't you show your cool forms? But what he had learned was just basically how to defend himself, how to kill people in the jungle if they came. So he's like, why should I teach you guys this? Because it's no. So he didn't teach anything.
I've done grappling-based martial arts like Greco-Roman wrestling, freestyle wrestling, and Muay Thai, which is a lot of grappling in the clinch. I mean, the human body works the same, so I find the same principles in what I've been doing. It's just like a receipt that you're close to the truth if
it's similar.
Other people have come to the same conclusion.
Back in the days, the masters were training with each other, competing, and if you would meet somebody and lose to them, you would ask to learn their skills, and that's how the martial arts developed. If we would spar or talk and we do stuff, and even if I feel that he has a trick that he's doing, immediately I will add this trick to my book. When I get this feeling like, yeah, this is our thing, but it's in Greco-Roman wrestling, it's like, okay, we practice it like that also, let's see what happens. I take it right away, because that's how you develop.
If you want to see why I finally quit Wing Chun, click on this video right here. Thanks for watching and keep owning your journey.